The 43rd G20 summit concluded in the Indian capital. These were two packed days of dialogue, deals and diplomacy in New Delhi. World's most powerful gathered to address the global challenges. High on the agenda was the climate change crisis facing the world. The issue was one of the key points raised in the declaration as well as in the bilaterals. Nations signed a deal called the Green Development Pact for a sustainable future. The pact recognizes that present and future generations can be prosperous only if current policies and goals are environmentally sound. The Green Development Pact called for the need to limit global greenhouse gas emissions by 43% by 2030. The landmark Paris Agreement that aims to limit the temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial featured in the declaration. The countries agreed to ramp up efforts to achieve Paris Agreement goals and align their nationally determined contributions with the agreement. One of the major hurdles in the climate talks has been finance. While highlighting the inadequacy of climate action so far, countries expressed the need for more resources. G20 was successful in obtaining a commitment from developed countries on increasing low-cost financing for green transition. They even specified the number ranging from 5.8 trillion US dollars to 5.9 trillion US dollars by 2030. It noted a world needs an annual investment of $4 billion per year for clean energy technology by 2030. This amount was necessary to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. UK's Prime Minister also announced a record $2 billion aid to the Green Climate Fund. The fund largely supports developing countries to reduce global emissions. There was also a marked shift of discourse on climate finance investment, seemed to be moving mitigation to resilience and adaptation. G20 nations also reiterated their commitment to achieve carbon neutrality by or around middle of the century. The countries agreed to boost efforts to triple renewable energy capacity by 2030. However, no new language was introduced on the use of coal. Countries decided to phase down the use of unabated coal power. Remember, this is similar to how earlier climate summits have talked about coal. A case in point, of course, is the G20 accounts for 93% of coal power plants globally. Now, the leaders also agreed to build a global hydrogen ecosystem that benefits all nations. It would be based on the G20 high-level voluntary principles on hydrogen. In addition to this, India also launched Global Biofuel Alliance with the United States, Brazil, Italy, Canada, Argentina and South Africa as founding members. Now, this alliance would create new markets for sustainable biofuels. A total of 19 countries and 12 international organizations have so far agreed to join the alliance. All right, for more on this, George Jacob, who is the president and CEO of Bay.org and also the chief advisor to UN Environment on Climate and Ocean Conservation Museum Initiatives, joins us live from San Francisco. Welcome to the broadcast, sir.
Thank you.
George, now one of the major hurdles in the climate talks at G20 has been finance. Countries expressed the need for more resources. Now, there have been some big bids from developed nations at this G20. How much do you feel this will help the climate crisis?
I think, in principle, the approaches announced at G20, both in terms of the resolutions and in terms of guiding principles, they are in the right direction. The proof of the pudding lies in the implementation part, the regulation part, the enforcement part, and in terms of the actual financing part. So as you had mentioned previously, that there is to reach the 43% target by the middle of the century, there are two requirements that it's predicated upon. The first one is that there should be a finance of $5.8 trillion by 2030. There should also be a tech transfer equivalent to $4 trillion by 2030. So the next 5, 6, 7 years, that's a very tall target. And presuming that those targets are met, then and only then, if all systems remain equal, then the world can race towards net neutrality of by 2050.
Right.
Now that's that's way out there in the future with so many unknowns. So, but to strive in that direction is actually a good step.
George, now India also launched Global Biofuel Alliance with the United States, Brazil, Italy, Canada, Argentina and South Africa as founding members. Talk to us about how this alliance would create new markets for sustainable biofuels.
No, I think biofuels is actually a good solution. The question is the market cap. So if you look at the language carefully in the announcement, it talks about creating an opportunity worth $500 billion by, you know, in the next 25 years or in the next, by 2025, sorry. That is crucial, creating opportunities. How do you define opportunities? Whether all biofuels are clean fuels and so on and so forth. I think those are the key factors here. A lot of biofuels require heavy dosage of fertilizers that end up in the water streams. And there is a cost associated with cleaning up our river systems associated with the runoffs. So I think like I said previously, the proof of the pudding is in the details.
Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. George, that was George Jacob, who's the president and CEO of Bay.org, joining us live from San Francisco with all his inputs on this.
My pleasure.